Well, I'm going to give you a little quick history here about the Gun Control Act of 1968 and also how the NRA sold out gun owners in 1968. And this is an apt photograph. Communism is in the air. That's basically what gun control is about. I'm going to take this right from Wikipedia because, it's the tame, dumbed down version. It's not going to give you anything too controversial, and it's controversial enough. So gun control. Well, I guess it was in place in 1934 with the National Firearms Act when it restricted automatic weapons. Where you pull the trigger in a bunch of rounds, and more than one round comes out when you for one trigger pull. But the gun control in 1968, well, it just cut right to the chase. If you look at research done by the Jews for Preservation of Firearms Ownership, which I've been a member of since the early 90s, I think, or mid 90s, 95, 96, I think, and it's really verbatim off the Nazi weapons law that the Nazis had implemented back in the 1930s. The Sporting Weapons Clause in the National Gun Control Act in the United States has no basis for any pre-existing law in the United States. Actually, in a lot of places, it's taken verbatim from the Nazi weapons law. Some people think the Nazis are doing good with their weapons law. Well, whatever. I can't argue with people on YouTube, man. But anyway, the passage of the Gun Control Act was initially prompted by the assassination of U.S. President John F. Kennedy. Now, this is where it gets me because, we all know today that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't kill President John F. Kennedy. He was a setup guy. He was the fall guy. He was somebody that was working closely with the government itself, and he was supposed to be getting in close, tight with Castro in Cuba to push an assassination plot against Castro. That's really what he was supposed to be doing. In quick succession, you got Jack Ruby kills Lee Harvey Oswald, and Jack Ruby dies of cancer, which they gave it to him in a prison cell, so he was out of the way. And the thing is that, like at the time, they're saying the president was shot and killed with a rifle purchased by mail order from an ad in a National Rifle magazine, right? NRA magazine. So the NRA gets all in the public. But the thing is, this guy was a U.S. Marine. He could have got a gun anywhere. I mean, the fact that he got it from a mail order, whatever, he would have got it. If he had all these laws and background checks today, he was a U.S. Marine, honorably discharged, he would have got a gun anyway. But the thing is, he didn't even do it. And, everybody knows today that, LBJ was probably involved in it. There's a lot of people involved in it. It wasn't this Lee Harvey Oswald lone gunman bullshit that they still try to pull. Now everybody's starting to everybody's really starting to look at this but this is what the basis of the law was. Now, I want to get on, this is what their reasoning was. But when you had the NRA Executive Vice President Frank Orth, he supported the ban on mail order sales of guns, stating, "We do not think that any sane American who calls themselves an American can object to a placing into this bill the instrument which killed the President of the United States." So this is the guy from the NRA. Now, even when this was going on, with the warrant, the way the whole thing went down, there was all kinds of questions back then. I know the major media didn't question it, but now there's a little more freedom of information coming out in the media through independent channels that have nothing to do with the big money, and also through other things where people just purchase DVDs or get online mail order information or something about private investigators that investigated the Kennedy assassination. They know it didn't go down like this, but even the people on the top, they all knew it didn't go down the way the official story was. And everybody knows why they wanted Kennedy out of the way. There was a load of reasons. He was going to pull back the troops out of Vietnam. He was going to get involved in that, the escalation. Johnson got right back into the escalation right away as soon as he was president. He was issuing the silver certificate, dollars backed by silver. He was a threat to the Federal Reserve. There's a load of stuff. This guy, he was after the CIA, and George Bush Sr. was in Dallas at that time. I mean, come on, man. So the Gun Control Act, communism, was based all upon his assassination, Martin Luther King, and also Ted Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. Not Ted Kennedy, but Bobby Kennedy, right? Robert Kennedy. Now, what I found interesting, too, a lot of people don't know this, and I knew this for many years, though, and before the internet was really around. It's back in the early 90s, or mid-90s, maybe. Senator Thomas Dodd of Connecticut, that's Senator Thomas Dodd Sr., he was always pushing for a bill to put more restrictions. And he was always met with a lot of fierce opposition on the floor, right? But after the assassination, not just of JFK, but also Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King, and that's when there was enough political power to get it through. Which reminds you of all the stuff that's been going on over the last several years, right? Which I don't want to comment on too much because YouTube will freaking say, oh, this video's too controversial. But you know what I mean, right? So, later, so in 68, you had Martin Luther King was killed, and then Robert and Kennedy. And, there's a lot to even say that those gunmen weren't actually the ones, too. Martin Luther King's son talked to the guy, and he doesn't believe he was the gunman before the guy died in prison. I forgot who that was, and even with Bobby Kennedy, it might have been the security guy. They don't know. I mean, there's doubts there. But, then later on, 93, you had the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act. And what happened there? Ronnie Reagan, who was he was like a president that was kind of bucking the system, sort of, kind of like Trump is doing, sort of bucking the system. Not bucking the system, but I guess you would say going against the powers, the entrenched conspiracy that's against the people. Ronnie Reagan was, at least his speeches were very good, but he was not totally in with the bad guys. So here, he's ready to get killed, right? So, but anytime they do these, like they kill Robert F. Kennedy or Bobby Kennedy because he's against the CIA and the entrenched conspiracies and underground governments we got in the United States that control everything. They kill JFK for the same reasons. They kill they try to kill Ronnie Reagan. A half an inch one way, he would have been right through his heart, and he would have been dead. Actually, if you look at there's footage out there they don't put on the newsreels, but you could clearly see there was another gunman there. But they cropped the photo, and that's another thing. So, they're using the bad guys are doing all this bad stuff, and they're using it as excuses to put down more controls on the people. And here you got the head of the NRA back in not the head, but he was the executive vice president, second in charge, right? In 1968, and he's going along with it. And the guy consciously knew what he was doing. That's really what gave rise to the Gun Owners of America, the No Compromise gun lobby. It doesn't have as many members as the NRA, but I personally I'm a lifetime member of those guys. I'm not too keen on the NRA, man. They're a little wishy-washy, man. They're too afraid to say so much shit. Anyway, but I'm a member of them too. But I'm not too keen on. I like gun owners, man, and Jews for the preservation of firearms ownership. But anyway, so they got all these rules, and back when they first passed this, law. Now, this was before my time because I would have been not that old then. I would have been way before I've been in the, what the hell would I have been, like 13 years old or some shit, or 12 or whatever. When they first passed this, they, gun, what do you call this, gun shows? They were pretty much trading guns back and forth, like World War II surplus carbines and M1 Grands and Korean War vintage stuff. Not AR-15s or anything like that, because that stuff was like ultra high-tech, brand new back in their 60s. But the World War II stuff, or even the 1903 Springfield bolt actions, or the the Mauser 1898 things and stuff, that kind of stuff, right? They were still pretty much, buying and selling them at gun shows without the paperwork. I don't know, but later they stopped that. They stopped that, you know, because actually, if I look at the Gun Control Act in 1968, I don't see where it exactly says you can't. Well, I guess I think they did something with the gun shows where you can't do that, but there's something with private parties you can exchange or something. I don't know. I don't know every damn rule out there, but before the 1968 Gun Control Act in New Jersey, it was the District Attorney Arthur Sill, Sill. He was an attorney who never saw action in World War II. He was just a bigwig attorney during the entire conflict against the Nazis. He didn't fight. He never picked up a rifle to fight against the Nazis. He was the one that put in the draconian Gun Control Sill Act, named after him, in 1966 in New Jersey, that requires a firearm ID card. And he was good friends with Thomas Dodd, who, the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, did prove that Thomas Dodd had a copy of the Nazi weapons law. And it looks like he took a lot of stuff from the Nazi weapons law that Adolf Hitler installed and put it into the U.S. Gun Control Act in 1968. Another reason I can't stand Yankees, okay? This would have never flew in the South. Not in a million years, you know? We need to just secede again, okay? I'm getting sick of this shit. But you know how the deal is, the federal government usually forces all the states, or coerces, not exactly forces, but strong arms the states with federal funds being attached to them doing something the way they want. Like that was how they, like in other words, they could do this with gun control, but you know how all the states started to enforce legal drinking age at 21? You know how they did that? It was when the federal government attached federal funds for highways, that if you don't freaking change your legal age, drinking age in your state to 21, you're not going to get any federal funds for your highway construction, and which will cut down all your interstate commerce and trade and people coming in there to visit your state because you don't have nice highways to be all full of potholes, right? So everybody complied, but that's how they could do stuff with the gun control too. States' rights, freaking right out the window, man. If that's a fact, Jack. So, but I'm going to comment some more on this because, let me say this: when you got law enforcement, military, and government employees, it's very much a mixed bag. Now, me as I was former military. I'm not going to go freaking brag about that shit or nothing, because I know how people say, I was a veteran. Yeah, whatever. Whatever, fine. But I have enough understanding of like what goes on in there, and I really hate it, the kiss asses and the suck ups. God, I hate it to man. I do know that people can be I call them selectively smart and selectively stupid. They can be very smart when it's for getting ahead, getting their pension, their direct deposit, getting a rank, and what do you call that? Retirement bennies and all that other wonderful perks. But when it comes to being intelligent and doing the right thing that might jeopardize your pay, benefits, and retirement, or whatever the hell it is, yeah, you're not gonna you're gonna ignore that. You know what I mean? Those kind of people I can't stand. But I'm gonna tell you, there are still a significant number of people in law enforcement, the military, and the government that are honorable. Now, of those people, now I'm not saying most are. I'm saying there's like different categories, very good or excellent or outstanding. Maybe you got outstanding and you got excellent and good and mediocre and halfway decent, and then you got bad and very bad. I mean, there's different categories. But there's people in there that are putting up with way more crap than I might be bitching about on this video, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like these rules that came down that are basically Nazi rules or communist rules, and they got enshrined in U.S. law. And, people that are working in the government can't, or the military or law enforcement, can't necessarily fall on their sword and make a useless sacrifice that isn't going to change crap. They're not going to do that. But of the people that are really good, they're putting up more shit than I am. So, my hearts are out to you guys. Now, there's different layers. There's people that will go stick their neck out so far, and there's people that stick their neck out a lot to do the right thing. There's people that won't stick their neck out at all, and there's people that will gravitate to just getting as much crap as they can for themselves, pay bennies in retirement, and they don't give a damn about anything, and they can play the game left and right, and they're selectively stupid. Those kind of people I can't stand. And if you're one of the good guys in law enforcement, military, or the federal government, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, well, here's where they had the Gun Control Act created to what is known as the Sporting Purposes Standard for imported firearms. And I was like thinking, sporting purpose? What the hell is that, man? Come on, man. Sporting purpose? The reason we got the Second Amendment was a check against the government itself. It's not the freaking sporting purpose. Nah. It's actually the people as a whole are the militia, or the military. Now, the ATF said, or does not include plinking or practical shooting as included in sporting purposes, because that's closer to police combat style competition. So that's not the traditional types of sports. But you see, this law is not this came right from the Nazi law. The people are allowed to have weapons for sporting purposes. Once you argue that, the whole thing's out the window. You got the Second Amendment, but you know what? You even got to make sure, you got to even make believe there's no Second Amendment. You got to freaking argue it the another way. Who the hell can trust the government to do the right thing? Nobody. If you look at, that's another thing I like about the Jews for the Preservation of our firearms ownership. They pointed out that governments have killed more people than even criminals have, like smaller criminals, the St. Valentine's Massacre, big famous thing. Yeah, dozen people or 12 people, or whatever, 8 people get killed, right? Governments kill millions. And, Pol Pot, Stalin, Hitler, right? Abraham Lincoln, right? Yeah, there's another one. Yeah. Abraham Lincoln, yeah, he's another one. So, of course, his statue's up there next to the judiciary, so, it gives him an excuse to be a fascist. Anyway, but, yeah, so that's why people have the guns. It's to keep the government in check. So this law is total crap, okay? Now, I would never want to see the ATF lose their jobs. What I always think is they should teach people how to shoot. Skip the paperwork. Train people in safe usage of arms without having paperwork. Voluntary classes. And also teach people how to make moonshine, not to get drunk off their ass, but to run their cars off of, so we be independent from Middle Eastern oil, and also the bigwig oil companies like Shell and BP, who polluted our Gulf and Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of Florida, whatever you want to call it. I'd still give them. I don't want to put them out of business. Just give them a different mission. But, the deal is like this. War is peace, and we got perpetual war, right? That's what we got going on here in the United States forever. We've been in perpetual war for one reason or another that is not necessarily, well, it's always to protect the big money, There's always oil interest or something going on there. Freedom is slavery. Everybody, the government knows where everybody is. They know everybody move, they do. And ignorance is strength. Yeah, ignorant. That's what burns me, though. Man, I can tell you one thing. One thing that burned me up the most in the military is how very smart people could be selectively ignorant. Jeopardize their money and it'll be a revolt. You know what I mean? Oh man, that used to burn me up. Actually, I don't really, I don't know, maybe this is a little bit being a little too hard, but because I don't think everybody, it's like you got to, you maybe you had to, well, let me put it this way. I didn't even like George Bush too, but George Bush one, at least he knew how to kick Saddam Hussein's ass, right? That was cool about him, even though he ain't a really good guy. But um, he didn't know how to kick Saddam Hussein's ass. Desert Storm, they clean butt. They just went in there and did a job. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't like a big quagmire like Afghanistan. But when we had Clinton in office for 8 years, and we had Obama. And I'm not a fan of Republicans because I can tell you the Republicans tell you all this bad shit about the Democrats, and then when they get in office, they don't reverse nothing. It's still the same crap. You know what I mean? They are the political power of the money, but the Democrats got to be communists. But I really couldn't stand Obama or Bill Clinton. Now I guess Hillary Clinton would be like way worse than those two by a million miles. But it burned me up too. Like when you start thinking about it, if you're in the military and you're swearing allegiance to Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, and you're in the military for 25 years or whatever, and you get out in 25, 30 years, what does that really tell you? Is this person trustworthy that he's going to uphold the Constitution of the United States and really worry about what happens with the people of the United States? I'm going to tell you no. Because he took an oath to, he took an oath to the Constitution, but he took an oath to obey the Commander-in-Chief. And you got all these rules, but then there's always this catch-all phrase what the military can and cannot do. It's by lawful order. And you're not going to argue what's lawful. The guy tells you to do it, you do it. That's when the Nazis were killing Jews. I'm going to tell you, maybe I'm going to get in hot water for this shit, because, sometimes Jewish people get mad at me for telling the truth on some things. I think there was an underestimate of Jewish people that were killed by guns, and an overestimate of Jewish people that were killed by gas chambers. And, I know I looked at this Fred Lloydster and David Irving, and I don't think they're anti-Semites trying to deny the Holocaust, okay? But, their research is telling me they're unearthing a lot of incidences of gangs of Nazis that were not representative of, like, the general army people, the average army person, that would go just kill Jews for money and taking their private possessions, and because, they could just grab whatever they wanted. And if those Jews had weapons, just like the Warsaw Poland ghetto uprising, they didn't have that many guns and that many rounds of ammunition. Boy, they held off a lot of Nazis for quite a while, man. They did. They fought hard. See, my opinion is, why even wait to go to a death camp? As soon as the jackass comes over and tells you got to go somewhere, kill him. All right? I don't give a shit if they act polite and they show their papers. Give them. Just waste them. And get rid of the body when you're done, Me, I'm a half Italian guy, dude, man. I help out them Jewish people, man. But, it's like, it's like this, I'm like, I realize that why the Founding Fathers really put the Second Amendment in the Constitution. Damn good reason. It wasn't for sporting purposes. What, are you kidding me? Huh? What, are you kidding me? No, it was over the government. You got the government telling you all this bullshit. But, I don't know. I really don't have nothing against a lot of the good guys in the government. There is waste. I know that. And I tell you one thing. I think it's coming to a severe crisis, anyway, that the government is going to run out of money, and the military's, what they're going to protect is the active duty military, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA. They're not going to protect any of the retirees' monies. That's why I'm grabbing my Social Security early, because I'm thinking, hey man, I don't know how long. Maybe it's gonna be around for 10 years. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. But eventually, well, that's what I'm telling you. If you're one of these government guys looking at this, your CIA, FBI, ATF, NSA, what I don't know, state trooper, police officer, they're going to screw you, man. And when you get older, soon when you get older, they're going to play games like, well, you're 65, 70 years old, and you got cancer. Well, and this operation costs so much. Well, we don't want to pay for it because you're going to die. We estimate your life to be only up to 79 anyway, so screw you. And if you look at my channel, man, I know a lot of shit about some of this health stuff, and I research it pretty damn good. Now, I know I talk very plain and nonchalant for a reason, but I don't know. I could be one of the boys either way, man. I can tell you that right now. I don't think, tell you the truth, I don't think necessarily law enforcement's bad. I don't necessarily think organized crime is always bad either. People, law enforcement say, "Oh, how could you think that?" Well, sometimes they ain't bad. Because it depends. There's always you got to have that honor about you. You know what I mean? That's really what it is. If you're providing something for somebody that they need, fine. Not talking like bad drugs or something like that, but moonshine. I mean, for your car, you can fill it up. I tell you what, I'm not going to go do that shit because it ain't worth the freaking problems you get involved in. But I don't know. Maybe I will if there's a lot of tax credits on it or something. But that's another stupid law. God, freaking, I can't believe that shit. I know what that deal's about. That's about Standard Oil, and that has nothing to do with this video. But that's just another part of government just owning our ass left and right. They're doing it through the guns, they're doing it through the healthcare, and they're doing it through energy. And moonshine, I mean, you can't make it for free, but if you guys see a farm and you got a bunch of crops you might have to throw away because they're getting rotten, you can make alcohol out of that stuff. Run your tractor, man, nice and clean and efficiently. And somebody comes by from the government trying to get some promotion, they'll bust you because they want to get a feather in their cap, and I'm like, that's why I wouldn't want to do it. I think there's some other ways around some of that shit with HHO plates and stuff, which I'm going off on a tangent. And even with this gun control, I was looking at a guy that was in Germany. He made a crossbow that was automatic. I was like, holy shit! It used a power drill or some bullshit. I don't know. You can look up on a YouTube video someplace. Some big German guy. He made an automatic crossbow that works off a power drill with some kind of elastic bands. I was like, holy shit! But I guess if everybody started doing that, you know what they would do? They'd make a law against it. Because the bottom line is, it's not. What they're really trying to do is control the people. That's really what it is. So, if you're into working in the government, man, I'll tell you, man. I mean, I feel sorry for the guys that are the good guys that are in the law enforcement, military, and the government. Like I said, the real honorable ones are putting up with way more crap than I am. But they know what I'm talking about when you got the sellouts in there, man. There's some bad people in there. Not everybody is bad. I mean, I just can't. But the point is, we need, and it's going to turn out this way. There's going to be a lot less government because I can't see how this is going to continue with deficit spending, and I can't see how the worldwide demand for the dollar is still going to continue with China doing direct trade for oil to Russia, and also Saudi selling oil to China for yuan versus U.S. dollars, and Qatar jumping in on that thing. The petrodollar is actually going down. That's the main underpinning of the dollar itself. I don't understand how the hell countries are still buying our debt, keeping us afloat. So if you're retired or you're almost retired and you're in the government, military, law enforcement, even if you're on a state level, it's going to start coming down like a bunch of dominoes. So you might as well stick your neck out a little more because they're gonna throw you under the bus. The ones that are going to keep, if there's enough money to go around for smaller government, they're going to keep active duty police, active duty FBI, CIA, ATF, NSA, military. They're not going to be anybody's retired. They're going to say, "Screw you, man," and probably they're going to do it. They're probably going to screw you more through inflation. If your retirement becomes worth half of what it is inside of 5 years due to inflation, well, they could be upping the price on everybody's, salary that's active duty. That's how they could screw the retirees. So I'm telling you, man, I noticed, like I said, there's different levels of people in police, law enforcement, and government and military and all that. But, if you're one of those people that are kind of like mid-range, you might as well start leaning towards honorable because I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to throw you under the bus. They're going to do that. And whatever. It's your choice, man. It's like I said, man. It's like I always say this: Burger King, have it your way, and whatever comes around goes around. But this law itself was pushed through by not just bad legislators like Senator Thomas Dodd Sr. Of course, Senator Thomas Dodd Jr.'s son became senator for Connecticut later. It's like one of these things where they just inherited the position. You know how that works. There's no longer kings and queens and dukes, right? We got senators that inherit the position, right? And the NRA executive vice president went all along with this. God, I didn't know this back then. I mean, if I was around back then, like active and an adult at that time, I would have gave that guy a lot of shit. But that's what gave birth to the Gunners of America, the No Compromise Gunners Association, which I'm a lifetime member of. Anyway, I'm proud of that. Anyway, over and out. So a little update here. Kind of a hodgepodge of different things, but hopefully I revealed a couple things you didn't know, because knowledge is power. That's really what it is. And they keep us, their strength is based upon our ignorance, as this last line goes. Ignorance is strength. It's strength for them. The more we expose them, the better.